2023 was a great year for Pokemon Go, but there were also a lot of not so great things that happened, and we're going to talk about it. Here are the worst things that Pokemon Go did in 2023. Get ready. Here's a big segment I want to get into: raiding. So, elite raids, okay? You know, never really been the greatest system. We kind of like it, but there's a lot of things we don't like. People didn't really love the idea of them coming back in the first place, but to make matters worse, they didn't really work. The elite raids weren't working for the first few event days that they tried them this year, and they eventually just kind of gave up and took them away and said, you know what, we're gonna come back one day with elite raids and make them better and all that. I think it's been like 9 months or something, and they haven't been back. I don't know if we'll ever get elite raids back. I mean, I was excited for them. It was just underwhelming that every time I wanted to do the elite raids, I was like getting kicked out, or the raids wouldn't start, or the raid lobbies were tweaking. It was a fiasco. It's still a good system. I hope they fix it and we can have some fun with it, but elite raids were a big yikes last year. And then there's shadow raids, but more specifically, shadow raids being in-person raids. So first of all, shadow raids, love them. Great feature. Everyone's excited. Incredible. Except for the fact that they're only available in person. Now, obviously, right off the rip, everyone hates that. I get it. But the real problem is that they're just too hard to do. The tier 1 and tier 3 raids are whatever, but the legendary shadow raids are insane. I mean, it is just impossible to do for low level to mid-level trainers. It's impossible to do for rural players who have no one else to play with. It's tough, man. Legendary raids are already hard on their own. Making them shadow makes them even harder. Making them in-person raids makes them even more impossible. And I think a way to fix this, because I think we all love the concept of shadow raids, is that they should allow at least one invite while you're at the raid, or if someone is at the raid physically, you should be able to invite as many people as you want, as long as somebody is at the raid starting it. So if I'm at a shadow raid, I should be able to invite anybody on my friends list. They don't have to be remotable, like you can't start a remote raid lobby, but you should be able to accept an invitation from somebody that's there in person, book it, check it, whatever they say, sign it, send it. That's gotta be a thing. I think everyone would be happy. That would be awesome. And now we got to talk about it. Everyone knows what we're about to talk about. It is the remote raid fiasco, the remote raid tragedy, the death of Pokemon Go, as some people have described. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. We all know what happened, but a quick recap because I got to do it. Remote raids were absolutely incredible, arguably the best feature Pokemon Go ever added to Pokemon Go, and they got limited from unlimited amounts to 5 remote raids a day. Sometimes it's 10 or 20 for special raid event days, but they went from unlimited remote raids to 5 a day. Now, obviously, that's an insane drop off from unlimited raids to 5 a day. It hurt a lot of people's feelings, myself included. Did not love that at all. As you guys know, I'm a huge raider. There would be times where I would do hundreds of raids a day, probably, and I enjoyed it. I loved it. I built an online community. I got a lot of friends from it. We had a lot of memories, moments, all that good stuff. And then they limit all these remote raids to 5 a day, and it's completely killed my motivation to raid as much as I used to. But to make matters worse, they also increased the prices for remote raid passes, and yeah, that's just overkill. People were already sad, upset, frustrated with the limit thing, and then they made them even more expensive to do. So they were just saying you're not doing these raids. It was tragic. Like I said, some people have described it as the death of Pokemon Go, or where Pokemon Go changed forever, which it definitely did. There was a huge momentum shift, a huge attitude shift. It was a killjoy for so much of the community, and the community's never been the same. It ruined a lot of good things. It hurt online communities. It hurt a lot of the community overall because people started arguing about it, and there was a lot of back and forth, and there was a big divide, especially between the community and Niantic, which I didn't love, and it hurts. It's such a messy and sad thing to look back on. I really wish there was more middle ground. I wish there was more communication. I wish things were handled differently. I know what Niantic was trying to do. They're trying to push in-person raids. They want people to raid in person to create create communities. I get it. I love it. But you don't have to take away from something to build another. You can just build one better. Like, you know what I mean? Make in-person raids OP. Make people not even want to do remote raids. Make that an afterthought. Make that a last resort. But not by taking something away from remote raids, by making in-person raids better. That's all I have to say on that. Now, something else I want to talk about is the way that the live events were handled this year. First things first, I absolutely love them. I know a ton of hard work goes into it, and I appreciate everybody behind the scenes. It's amazing. I went to almost every single one of them last year. It was the best time ever. That being said, it's fair to have some opinions on the stuff that's not so great about them, so let's get into it. Starting off with the Hoenn tour that we had last year in Las Vegas. It was an incredibly fun event. The spawns were great, the raids were great, the primals came out, researched. It was amazing. There was so much hype around it, and there were so many people there. Actually, too many. There were so many people that the servers went down and weren't working, and myself and hundreds of other people, probably thousands, couldn't get in the game. It was super frustrating. I thought maybe by now they would have fixed issues like this where there's too many people playing, but I guess it's somewhat of a good problem, but it's a problem nonetheless. And what makes everything worse is that they tweeted out something along the lines of, hey, can people not come to this event if you're not playing? Thanks, appreciate it. Which is not the way to go about it. Oh my gosh, that tweet got a lot of hate, and it was not worded right. That was bad. It was a real bad look. I know what they meant. The more people there was going to hurt the server space. I understand. But instead of saying it, especially the way they did, how about just appreciating the success and the hype of your event and just beefing up the servers and being ready for something like this to happen? Because we've seen it happen before. Problems like this shouldn't be a thing at this stage in the game. A big problem I had with live events was the Go Fest season, or lack thereof, last year. Last year we had 3 different Pokemon Go Fest. We had Pokemon Go Fest in Japan, in Europe, and America, and the global Go Fest. 4 Go Fest is amazing. It's incredible, except for the fact that we had 4 of them in like a month or less. It was absolutely overwhelming. I know I'm in like the very, very small minority of people that had to like go to all these Go Fests and play them all, so it was extra overwhelming for me. But in general, even content-wise and as the player base, as the community, there was just too much going on. It was like a whole Go Fest month, and it was overwhelming, and as soon as the month was over, people were tired of playing, and I get it. I was there. It kind of ruined the whole like Pokemon Go summer theme. Like the beginning of the summer was so boring. June and July were like, we're just kind of waiting for Go Fest. It was such a long time, and then it all happened at once. It was all so much going on, and then it just really abruptly ended. I remember the Ultra Unlock was super underwhelming too, at least compared to previous years. But yeah, the Go Fest season wasn't there. We're used to having like 1 in June, 2 in July, 2 in August, or whatever the heck, you know, however it's spread out. But instead we had like 4 of them in like a 3-week span. Not to mention the biggest issue, Pokemon Go Fest Japan and Pokemon Go Fest Europe were on the same gosh darn weekend. What is that about? They're usually in like different months entirely, but instead they put them on the same weekend. I was gonna go to both of them. I would have loved to go to both of them. I'm sure other people out there wanted to as well, but no, I had to pick one. I picked Japan. I had a great time, but didn't love that at all. It was just too much to handle. I missed when there's a Go Fest summer, a Go Fest season, not a Go Fest month. It was just too much. And you know we got to talk about this, Pokemon Go becoming pay to play. Now the term pay to play is a little bit exaggerated sometimes, but it is fair to say that a lot of things in this game are behind certain paywalls, if you will. Certain Pokemon are exclusively available in raids or eggs or paid researches. Paid researches being one of the biggest topics of the year. It seems like every single event has got a paid research attached to it, and I don't necessarily mind. I don't love it, but I mean, I guess I'd rather have it than not, and I don't have to buy it every time. It's not like they're crazy expensive either, and I actually enjoy the rewards, but I understand that people are upset about having a paid research with every single event, especially when some of these researches shouldn't cost any money at all. Sometimes the rewards are pretty bad, and I know people feel like they're kind of shoving all this, paid that down our throats, and that's a fair judgment. Again, you don't have to buy them every time. You're not being forced to, but my biggest problem with paid time research is that it's paid timed research. Why on earth are we paying for something that expires? I feel like all paid research should forever be special. You know what I mean? That concept doesn't make sense to me. I don't love it at all, and I hope that changes forever and ever. Now, another quote-unquote paywall we saw last year was the release of the new Pokemon Gimmighoul. Gimmighoul's a pretty cool Pokemon. Pokemon. It's still super mysterious and new, and people are excited about it. But the only way you can get it in Pokemon Go is if you or someone you know has a Nintendo Switch and the new Pokemon game, and you connect it and you do all that stuff, and then you get Gimmighoul. Now, this is nothing new. We've seen this before with Melton in Pokemon Go, so I'm not too worried about it. Only problem is Melton's been in the game for some years now, and it's kind of been the same ever since. Assuming Gimmighoul is going to be like Melton, we're probably going to get it through a special research at some point for free, and it'll be in the game. The shiny is going to probably drop one day, but I don't know if the requirement of connecting your game to a Nintendo Switch and all that stuff is ever going to go away. So Gimmighoul, again, quote unquote, behind a paywall. Now let's talk new features from last year. We had the new Routes plus Mateo feature added to Pokemon Go. It's a fun feature. It's a fun thing to add to the game, but it's not going great. Not only was it underwhelming, it wasn't even ready when it first dropped. It wasn't available to all trainers. It was a buggy feature. Mateo did not appear for like the first few days, and it was not as advertised. I sure as heck couldn't find him for weeks. It was ridiculous. The Zygarde cell system is so bad and inefficient. They're just too hard to obtain. They should probably be guaranteed on a route. You should maybe be able to get more than one on a route if it's a long route. Maybe even spawn some Zygarde or have that be a chance. I don't know. Plus, the rewards you get from Mateo and routes are pretty lackluster, so there's not really a point to do them. Again, a fun idea, but a rough drop, and it needs some work. We also had the party play feature drop, which again is a fun feature. It's just underwhelming, especially with the rewards. Not that the challenges are necessarily hard. It is fun and cool to walk around with your friends and play and do challenges together, but there's really no point in doing this because the rewards are absolutely lackluster. It's fine. I don't mind it being in the game, but it doesn't really mean anything. I love the bonus damage you get from being in a party. That's always nice, but I just feel like the feature is kind of missing something. I don't know what that something is. It definitely has potential. I'm glad it's in the game, but it's kind of unnecessary and needs some work. Now let's talk about some big mess ups. First one being the Mega Cluster Spawn removal. Oh my gosh, dude. When the Mega Cluster Spawn was a thing, that 1 or 2 days, it was one of the most fun Pokemon Go experiences I ever had. There was an overwhelmingly positive community response. It felt like Pokemon Go Part 2. It felt like a new game. They even came out and implied it was intentional, so we're all like excited about it. We're like, oh my gosh, new chapter. It's encouraging like going out and playing because look at all these Pokemon you can go out and catch. And then they took it away. And then they took it away. They fixed it. It was apparently a bug, even though they said it was intentional, and they fixed it in like a day or two. When there's bugs in the game that have been here for months, if not years, and they're still not fixed. Come on. Like, there's finally a good bug that everyone's excited about, and then they fix it immediately. Like, oh, that was too fun. Let's get rid of that. But there's so many annoying bugs in the game, in the Go Battle League and raids and whatnot, that are still in the game that have not been fixed. Listen, I understand coding is not an easy thing. I coded for a few years. I know it's probably incredibly tough and way harder than we can comprehend. Coding a video game, developing a video game, not easy stuff. But at this point, like, we gotta find the fixes for these bugs and make it happen. And like, I don't know, just be consistent with what you're gonna fix. Like, don't fix the stuff we like and then leave the stuff. It just hurts, man. It hurts. Anyways, I don't want to talk about it anymore. Let's get an F in the chat for the Mega Cluster spawns. It'll never be forgotten. Another thing I want to touch on, wrongfully banning players. This is not something I've ever dealt with, but I've seen it happen a lot, and it still continues to happen throughout the Pokemon Go community. People are getting banned in Pokemon Go. People are getting a soft ban, which is like a, you know, like a 7-day ban or something like that, or people getting the full ban in which their account is suspended. Now, there's a lot of reasons people can get banned in this game, but the annoying part is that people were getting banned for using the Pokestop creator application, Wayfair or whatever it's called. People were trying to nominate and create Pokestops, and in that process, I don't know what exactly happened, but they were getting banned for doing so. So they were just getting banned for playing the game pretty much. I don't really know exactly what happens in those scenarios, but that was happening a lot last year, and that just can't happen. I don't know how something like that happens. It's hard to comprehend. I don't fully understand it, but that can't be a thing. That was a tough year to look back on. A lot of not so great things happened, but hey, a lot of great things happened too, and I'll be talking about that in another video as well. We're not going to be all negative over here. A lot of great things happened last year too, which we're going to be talking about, but let me know in the comments if I missed anything, and let me know what you guys think was the worst thing that happened in 2023 for Pokemon Go. That was something else, dude. Hope you guys enjoyed.